Hello and welcome to That's Opera. You are witnessing YouTube history. I hope you're sitting because I changed the position of my table. Look, so much table real estate now. Nice. Today I want to talk about Richard Strauss's Elektra. And let me start with a quote from Igor Stravinsky, who said, "What operas have been written since Parsifal? Only two that count, Elektra and Debussy's Pelléas." I don't know if he was right about that verdict, but I agree that Elektra is a pretty much singular masterpiece, and the mastery starts from second one. Elektra might very well be the opera with the most brutal opening ever. This opening is just 4 bars long, but after those 4 bars we know for sure that we won't be witnessing a romantic comedy. If you are listening with headphones on, better turn your volumes down in 3, 2, 1, now. Lovely. Elektra is sensational from a musical point of view, of course. But since I'm not a musician and don't want to embarrass myself in front of the whole internet, I would rather talk about the underlying story of this opera and what it is about. There are mainly 3 things that make this opera so outstanding to me. Number 1, the libretto by the Austrian poet Hugo von Hofmannsthal, who later on provided Strauss with the words for his Rosenkavalier, Ariadne of Naxos, Arabella, the Ägyptische Helena, not so well known, and Frau ohne Schatten. When I show you 2 crucial moments of the opera later on, you will be able to read along the lyrics in German and English while listening, and hopefully will be as impressed by Hofmannsthal's powerful words as I am. The second great thing about Elektra, amongst many others, is the relationship between the 2 sisters Elektra and Chrysothemis. I find their relationship so fascinating because it's so relatable. Elektra, the older one, has a very strong, very even stubborn character, very principled. Whilst Chrysothemis, the younger one, is going with the flow and can find happiness even under the worst conditions. I find this relationship so relatable because my older brother is much stricter and of a stronger mind in comparison to me. And I hear the same exact story from many parents. Their firstborns are more serious, are working harder, are more disciplined, and are more willing to follow their duty, whatever that might be, than the second happy-go-lucky child, me. In this opera, the 2 sisters stand for 2 very different ways of how to behave under extreme conditions, and that brings us to the 3rd fascinating aspect of this opera. There are quite a few operas dealing with politics and the effect these politics have on its people. Andrea Chenier comes to mind, where we see the French Revolution eating its own children, or Nixon in China, which is about, surprise, Richard Nixon's state visit in China. I made a video about it if you want to check it out. But there are few operas as raw, as psychologically intense and as politically explosive as Richard Strauss's Elektra. It's an opera about vengeance, yes, but it's also an opera about resistance, about what it means to live under tyranny, about what happens when the world around you is rotten and the people who should act don't. I've been talking about this already in one of my older videos, but the world has changed very quickly since I recorded that video a little over a year ago. So I think it's worth revisiting this topic. Elektra, as we know, takes place in Mykene, in a house ruled by fear. After killing the king Agamemnon, his wife Clytemnestra and her lover Aegisth hold power through violence and paranoia. Their rule depends on silence, on everyone pretending that, oh, everything is fine. And then there's Elektra, Clytemnestra's daughter. She's the only one who refuses to play along. She refuses to forget her father's murder, refuses to submit to the new regime. She keeps the memory of justice alive, even though it isolates her completely. Elektra asks a disturbing question. What happens when your leaders stop respecting the law? Attacks on and frivolous lawsuits against the press, open contempt for the judiciary, brutal raids of masked agents who unleash terror without the need to fear any repercussions. That's exactly what happens in Elektra as well. Dominate the narrative, spread fear, reward loyalty and punish dissent. In that context, Elektra feels like a warning. She is the voice that says, no, this is not acceptable. To me, the language Hofmannsthal finds is simply breathtaking. For example here. Und in einem Schwall, in einem geschwollenen Bach wird ihres Lebens Leben aus ihnen stürzen. Everything about this is simply beyond beautiful and beyond strange as well. The words and the pictures he finds to create a certain atmosphere. Wird ihres Lebens Leben aus ihnen stürzen? The English translation is doing a great job trying to capture the essence, the color of Hofmannsthal's poetry, but of course there have compromises to be made due to the rhythmic necessities of the music. How do you even begin translating ihres Lebens Leben without sounding like a moron? Their life's life, like a swollen river, their life's life will plunge out of them? I would have loved to be a fly on the wall, to see the face of the translator when he got this opera on his desk in the early 1900s. Poor guy.
Und wir schlachten dir die Rose, die im Hause sind. Wir treiben sie vor den Rat zusammen und jagen gut und gern die Todesluft und schnell.
This is so brutal and so archaic. The killing of the horses is something beyond normal revenge. It brings back the picture of horses killed during wars, the last time probably in World War I, where horses were used and have been slaughtered in the millions. It's this kind of cruelty that shows us that Elektra's understandable desire for justice has gone too far, and we can understand why both her sister and her mother are afraid of her.
Und wir schlachten dir die Hunde, die Füße legten, die mit den Blut, die von der Pest der Angst. Darum muss Blut, um Gott zu sein. Wir zu Fest, und dann töten
is interesting for two reasons. Because A, Elektra still is under the misconception that Chrysothemis is willing to work with her when she is saying, wir, dein Blut, dein Sohn Orest und deine Töchter, Töchter plural. We, thy blood, thy son Orestes and thy two daughters. And B, because of the overwhelming power of the picture Hofmannsthal is painting for us. Are you even aware what Elektra is saying here? Wenn alles dies vollbracht und die Purpurzelte aufgerichtet sind vom Dunst des Blutes, den die Sonne nach sich zieht. What this means, the mist, the haze of the blood of our murdered enemies will be so thick in the sun that it creates the appearance of a purple-tinted dome. The thing which gives me goosebumps is that contrast between Hofmannsthal's unbelievably beautiful language and the horrible things he describes with this beautiful language. It's truly mesmerizing and frightening, but obviously it was this kind of powerful poetry which enabled Richard Strauss to write this music, which is beyond anything the world has ever heard before. Two masters of the craft working hand in glove to create something for eternity. I said in my intro that this opera is about resistance and about revenge. Clearly in Elektra's case, they are intertwined, feeding each other, empowering each other. Would it ethically be way better to separate revenge and resistance, not being as cruel and dehumanizing? Well, yeah. But that's the nature of drama and opera, going into the extremes to make their point. We, in real life, should protest and resist by peaceful demonstrating or by civil disobedience. So please, don't go and kill your political enemies' dogs or horses. And as a general rule, better don't kill anything or anyone. Quick word about the recording you were listening to right now. Performing Elektra live, as Eva Marton did here, is pretty much one of the hardest things in opera, especially when having to act as well. I have been the assistant director of this Harry Kupfer production at the Wiener Staatsoper after it went into the repertoire. And I can tell you, the staging involved a lot of climbing up and down and running and pushing, etc. Please watch the whole video to appreciate the brilliance of Marton's and Studer's performance. The link is in the description. So, I am really not interested in people who tell me, but Birgit Nilsson was so much better. Sure, she was a great soprano and sang the role of Elektra extremely well, but would not have been willing or able to do the acting necessary to do this drama justice. So I would choose this live recording, with all its flaws and imperfections, over the most brilliant studio recording every time. As I have said in my intro, to me one of the most fascinating parts of Elektra is her relationship with her sister Chrysothemis. They are like two sides of the same coin. Elektra is all fire and rage. She lives entirely in the past, possessed by her moral duty. Chrysothemis, on the other hand, wants life, love, children, a future. Is she weak? I don't know. Maybe she's just pragmatic. She wants to survive, and she accuses her sister to be the reason why both of them are kept under supervision in the house. That's what makes their scene so powerful. There's love between them, absolutely, but also mutual incomprehension. Each sees the other's path as madness.
Ich kann nicht sitzen und ins Dunkel starren wie du.
Ins Dunkel starren wie du. Right from the get-go, we see how far apart the sisters have grown from each other. The fact that Chrysothemis reduces Elektra to just sitting and staring into the dark shows that she completely lost the ability to feel her sister. And with that goes the possibility of a productive or healthy conversation. But at that point we are, of course, way beyond healthy anyway. Everything from now on can only be confrontational.
Ich hab's wie ohne Lust. Es treibt mich immer fort im Haus. In keiner Kammer leidet mich. Ich muss von einer Schwelle auf die andere ab. Trepp auf, trepp ab. Mir ist, als rief es mich. Und komm ich hin, so Stimme ihres Zimmer.
See the contrast here? Chrysothemis can't control her inattention. She has to run up and down the house, spending her energy in a useless way. Of course, to her, Elektra's ability to stay motionless in one place and collect her strength and hate must feel like a provocation or even an accusation. Have Erbarmen. Mit wem? This passage is symptomatic for the sisters' relationship. Elektra knows exactly what Chrysothemis meant when she asked Elektra to have pity. But instead of acknowledging her sister's pain, she simply pretends not to know what Chrysothemis is talking about. Pity with whom? Sorry. Which causes Chrysothemis to have the following outburst. Sie ließen uns ja heraus aus diesem Kerker, Schwester. That's the typical reversal of the perpetrator-victim dynamic in such an oppressed environment. In Chrysothemis' desperation, she sees Elektra as the enemy, as the one causing her pain, instead of the true oppressors, her mother and her mother's lover Aegis. If Elektra only would give in, everything would be fine. Chrysothemis clearly is in survival or self-preservation mode, but now a sudden change. From accusations, she switches to sharing and talking about herself, which finds its climax when she desperately cries out her desire to be a mother. That's one of the moments where we can feel for her and understand where she is coming from.
Bis an den Tod wir schlafen,
Hörst du mich an, sprich zu mir, Schwester. What a touching moment this is again. And Elektra's answer to Chrysothemis' emotional outburst, laying bare her most inner self, armes Geschöpf. Here the English translation is saying poor weakling, which I find not ambivalent enough. Armes Geschöpf, poor creature, can be used in a truly empathetic way or in a sarcastic way as well. By saying poor weakling, the translation makes a decision for us. It forces us to see Elektra's reply as making fun of Chrysothemis, and maybe she is, but in the end it should be the listener, the audience, who should be free to come to their own conclusions. So, what do you think? Is Elektra mocking her sister here, or maybe has a brief moment of sympathy for her? Let me know in the comments. Chrysothemis is changing her tactics now. Obviously pleading didn't work, and talking about her wish to be mother didn't work. Now she's trying to push through to her sister with some hard truth. Kein Bote von einem Boten, nichts, no herald from a herald, naught. What a depressing perspective for the sister's future life. From this deeply hopeless message, she switches back again and she cries out her envy of those women who came to the wells carrying the beautiful burden of an unborn child inside of them. And how wonderful it is to see them 9 months later breastfeeding their newborns. It's killing Chrysothemis to be robbed of what she sees as her natural and rightful place in life, being a woman, being a mother.
Mit Messern gräbt Tag um Tag in dein und mein Gesicht sein Mal. Und draußen geht die Sonne auf und ab. Und Frauen, die schlank gekannt sind schwer vom Sinn. Wenn sie kommen, heben kaum die Eimer. Und
Chrysothemis, it can't be easy to be Elektra's sister. As a younger sibling myself, I can't help but kind of being sympathetic with her.
My God, it's pretty depressing.
Well, wasn't that fun? But to end on a lighter note, I heard way too often in my life that size doesn't matter. What? But that message hasn't resonated with the publishers of Richard Strauss's piano reductions. You know, the stuff singers and pianists use during rehearsal. Look at this. This is the piano reduction of Mozart's Così fan tutte. Perfectly fine size, right? And now, Elektra, much bigger. And here, Rosenkavalier. Impressive, but the winner is, oh my God, Frau ohne Schatten. Enormous and enormously heavy. So, bigger score equals bigger composer. Let me know what you think about this very interesting theory of mine. Thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time. Until then, please take care and ciao.